So here's a question I ask myself all the time: what could be more fun than playing a video game? Well, we could take two video games, smoosh them together, and then play that. And that's exactly what Ollie at 8-Bit Boy UK has asked us to do this week in the Master System Challenge. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to this one, so you just hang on until after these. Hello friends and welcome back to Generation Pixel, and if you're new to the channel, well, you join us just in time for the Master System Challenge. Now, I don't partake in all the Master System challenges set by 8-Bit Boy UK, and that's simply because I just don't have the time. But when he chooses a game where Sega have taken two of their biggest properties from the late 80s and melded them together into one fantastic game, well, I couldn't resist. So, if you're interested to see just how I got on with my own particular brand of editing when it comes to these gameplay challenges, then you just wait, because here it comes now. So as I said in the introduction, this is Alex Kidd and Shinobi World, and it was two of the biggest games for Sega, two of their mascots back in the late 80s that were melded into one game and gave us this. Now, I'm going to have to go back because that bad guy who just stole my girlfriend, well, what exactly was he? You know what, I'm not even going to try and hazard a guess at whatever this creation's supposed to be, so let's get on with the game. So in traditional 8-bit style, or traditional retro style for quality games, we get a bit of a story here, a small snippet of a backstory, and of course it's just what we've seen on the screen. Your girlfriend's been abducted by this dark ninja, and of course, being the hero of the game, well, obviously we're going to have to go and save her now. So Alex Kidd and Shinobi World, let's get cracking. So we have an overworld map with 4 stages, not too bad. We start with 2 lives and immediately we're straight into the game, and it's a run and slash, much like Shinobi was, and of course Ninja Gaiden. And I absolutely love this little mechanic where you sort of spin round a lamppost and turn into a fireball and you can take out a whole line of enemies. Fantastic little mechanic there, just adding a bit more fun. Now, the enemy sprites, as you can see so far, are fairly generic until you get to this pogo guy, and I don't know why they chose a pogo guy, maybe just because Alex Kidd, making it just a bit more cutesy, but all the sprites in this game are cutesy, which however can lead you into a false sense of security, because you know what, they can be quite tricksy at times. The boomerang guy, I absolutely detested this boomerang guy. As I said, this is not the first time I played this game. I played it, 3 times before I decided to do this final run through for the video. And to take out that boomerang Bampot, well, you've got to hit him while he's not holding his sword at the time. It doesn't matter whether you're facing him front on or you're taking him from behind, if he's holding that sword he'll just deflect it. And you're about to see, even if you've got that little throwy dagger thing, if he's got that sword, then there's no hope for you. You absolutely must wait for him to throw that before you can take him out, and that's a bit of a nuisance at times. So as you see, my third crack of the game, and I managed to get through that first sort of stage of the round, and that's not bad going for me, because let me tell you, when I play the likes of Mario, I can be there for days before I can get past one stage. So needless to say, I was a little bit impressed with myself getting this far so early on in the game, and the game started to feel like an introduction to this genre, rather than a hardcore Shinobi or Ninja Gaiden game in its own right. Now, I'm not saying it was so easy it wasn't any fun, because they did start mixing it up a bit. As you can see here, we've now got snipers as well as the boomerang Bampots, and it mixed up the level style, so we're climbing here vertically rather than running along horizontally doing the run and slash. But it definitely feels more like a dummy's guide or a light introduction to how to get good at these run and slash Ninja Gaiden Shinobi games from the late 80s. But of course, does it stay like that? Well, no, because what you're about to see is it mixes up the playstyle yet again. Once you get past this boomerang Bampot, which you'll eventually do, you see we're moving on to a more traditional timed platform game, and let me tell you, this caught me out a few times in my first several playthroughs. Then you find out if the basic enemy sprites can throw weaponry at you. Well, the answer is sure they can. And yes, that's a bad joke, but yes, to start throwing shuriken at you, but you can at least deflect them with your weapons. You can deflect them with your sword, or you can deflect them with your throwy dagger thing, and I will look that up at some point to find out what it's actually called again. Moving on to the next part of that particular stage, well, I found one of the more satisfying stages in the game, and not only that, one of the most frustrating stages of the game as well. Now don't ask me why this is the case, but if you give me a game where there's something that I can smash up, break my way through, just completely beat up the level, then I'm absolutely all in for that. And this particular level here gives you the opportunity to smash through these golden bricks in numerous different ways, but it also gives you this absolute Jim Ryan of a game mechanic where you get to wall jump. Now wall jumping isn't, well, a very new thing. Wall jumping's been in many games before, and I had watched several players run through this level and just bounce up this chimney without even breaking a sweat. So for me, I had to be absolutely determined. I had to knuckle down and make my way up this chimney, because if other people have put the time and effort into getting up this chimney for their playthroughs, I was sure as damned that I was going to be able to get up that chimney as well for you guys watching this particular playthrough. So with every ounce of my concentration, I just bounced and bounced and bounced and bounced, but you know what, it just wasn't going to happen.
One eternity later.
And I did try, I tried so very hard, but then I decided just to go straight back and do what I loved the best, and that was interact with the destructible environments. And I dare anyone to tell me that it's not fun just ripping through the scenery of a game like that, because it absolutely is. And the only particular pitfall of that was it psyched me up so much that I decided, yes, I was going to have another crack at that chimney, just to see if I could get up like Retro Red Steve and the rest of the guys. And you know what, I made a little bit of progress, but in the end I was there for, well,
one eternity later.
And in all honesty, I'm absolutely embarrassed at how much time I've had to cut out of this video just because I've tried to get up that chimney and failed. But anyway, we decided to move on because we had to see what the game was going to throw at us next. Because it was either that or I was just going to spend the entirety of the night trying to get up that sodden chimney. And just as a side note before I forget, you can actually move yourself while you're in that fireball form, which was a lovely little touch. Next up, I had finally made it to the boss stage, and I was quite surprised at myself because, as I've said many times before, although I do play retro games from time to time, I'm really quite out of practice when it comes to some of these much earlier games, especially platformers and the like. And I'm not going to lie, this was quite a pleasing boss battle because for once and forever, I didn't have to jump on the boss's head. And not only that, I took on this boss and I beat this boss first try, which was, it completely astounded me, as much as it probably astounds you watching. Now of course this also meant that I had to move on to round 2 and to more uncharted territory, because despite having 2 or 3 goes before playing this playthrough, I never made it this far. Actually, I didn't make it to the boss in the previous run-throughs. It was those snipers and boomerang bam pots on the climbing levels that managed all too easily to stop me from progressing in my first 2 attempts in this game. And this level looked to be making me face my ultimate nemesis, the pixel perfect platforming jump. And to be honest with you, it's one of the things that I truly dread in retro gaming. And of course, when you mix in the fact that you've got to take on enemies, not even just enemies walking side to side, but enemies that can fire at you, that jump out of the ground, well, this was enough to get my stress levels extremely high, and then something remarkable happened. I could fall in the water and not die, and that just made this level just seem like not a challenge at all after that. So with hindsight, at least there was that illusion that I had to do that pixel perfect jumping or I was going to fail this level. But it wasn't to be. It was quite straightforward. I didn't have to bother with, of course, falling in the water or any of that sort of worry. And then, as if it's some kind of reward, I get more destructible scenery. So I just transform into my fireball and I'm just destroying all these gold blocks wherever I go. And I just took this moment to relax and get over the fact that I thought I was doing some pixel perfect jumping, a mechanic that I truly despise, and had my stress levels through the roof. And now this was just a bit of fun to get towards the end of the stage. I mean, come on, breaking stuff is fun. I mean, maybe not so much in real life, but in video games, just being able to smash through these bricks really is like a video game stress ball. And just before you ask, no, I still haven't looked up what the ninja throwing daggery thing is yet, so if you know, why don't you drop it in the comments, because I'll probably not get round to it anyway. So it was kinda nice to come out of that bonus sort of hidden stage there where you collect your ninja daggery throwy thing and some extra life, knowing that you're not going to be faced with pixel perfect jumping and all you have to do is deal with the enemies. And obviously the confidence was flowing right through me at this point, as nothing was going to stop me, not even throwing in the additional sniper here and there. And then along came the mechanic that put me back in my place, the pixel perfect weapon throw. And then after that, what came was real torture, and that is what I like to call the impossible chest. That's right, a chest that's there in plain view, you know there's life in it or an extra weapon or something, but no matter what you do, you just can't reach it, you can't destroy it, it's just there to taunt you, and it will keep you here for quite a while, and it kept me here for quite a while trying to open it until I decided, well, no, this is an impossible chest, I've got to move on. And move on you do, you move on through onto this boat and into the next level, and yes, nice and cheeky they're throwing an enemy at you straight away, but of course that is one of the most important tropes of any retro game, and that is the unfair death. And the only reason I got away with this one is, well, I just pressed fire as I went through the door, maybe it's muscle memory, who knows. And then there was the tornado weapon that I picked up, I have no idea what that was supposed to do, it seemed to take out the bad guys as I was moving down, but I have no idea whether I was meant to move faster while I was in that. But it did lead on to some of those destructible blocks, which just means some more stress relief before I'm obviously going to head towards the end of this stage and face something a little bit more difficult. And let me tell you, by a little bit more difficult, I had no idea what I was about to face was a swimming or a water stage, and anyone will tell you who plays video games from any era that the swimming stages, the water stages tend to be brutal, and this one was no exception. Yes, I had some lovely destructible scenery, but those sharks, I believe they're meant to be, they weren't a one-hit kill. I had to hit them a couple of times to get past them. Then there's areas of the scenery that kill you. It's just a whole collection of complete frustration by the time you get to this level. And I'll be completely honest with you, after the first experience of this level, I knew the writing was on the wall that it wasn't going to be much longer that I was going to be in this challenge, and well, sure enough, there it came, the game over. But I tell you what, this is definitely a game I'll be going back to. It was not so easy that it was not fun, it was not so hard that it was no fun. So yes, a big thumbs up for this game, and thanks to Ollie, 8-Bit Boy UK, for putting this one out there. So there you go, my friends, that was my run through of Alex Kidd and Shinobi World, and well, what did you think of the game? Now, my first impressions, because this is the first time I've played the game, was it looks like it could be rather short with that level map that you see there at the beginning. But you know what? Not a bad thing, because let's face it, it was to entice younger players into playing these run and slash games like Shinobi, and of course which moved on to be Ninja Gaiden, and of course help us older gamers who have maybe lost our reflexes a bit over the year get back into the grind before we take on something much more serious. Now if you do want to talk about this game, then feel free to drop down in the comments with anything that you want to bring up, because the interaction between you and me as well, that's the most important thing to me in this channel. And of course, probably more importantly, drop along to 8BitBoy UK, check out the Master System Challenge, watch the other competitors that play in this challenge on a weekly basis, and maybe join in if you can. So thank you very much for watching, and of course, until next time, cheerio!